And I shall say welcome. Welcome to the practice after a longer pause. So to remind you, the staples that we're using, maybe a blanket, a block. If you'd like to use a bolster today, that's also very welcome. You can always have that by the side of your mat too. Now, to begin our practice today, I'd love to tap a little bit into the flow of life. We'll start lying down. And if it is right for you, take your blocks, take the bolster. It might come in useful, especially in a reclined down angle pose. So as I lie back, and these are now suggestions, I place my head onto a soft blanket. I'm aligning my spine over the mat and letting the arms just gently drift away from the body, wiggling the shoulders into the ground. And from here, with the knees bent, I will try to open the knees out to either side, and you might even try touching the soles of the feet together. Now, as you land here, there's likely to be sensations within the pelvic area, your legs, maybe your back. Perhaps trying to draw your feet up closer to see how that feels, or a bit further away from your body. If you enjoy support, you might place a block under either side or where needed and in the height that is required, right underneath your knees. Or if you like it even more comfortable, you could have the bolster underneath the knees while opening up. So perhaps letting the palms of the hands turn upwards, and you might then on each hand touch together your thumb with your little finger, and then leaving the other three fingers lightly extended. You could then rest the backs of the hands back down onto the floor, and you might after perhaps a further few wiggles choose to find stillness. And if the knees rolling out to the side just doesn't feel right today, feel free to bring the knees back up and rest the feet back onto the ground, or even extend your legs. As you tap into Jala Mudra, when we think about creating flow in our lives, not just within our bodies, we're often held up by our minds. And although we might have learned that thing about the number one, and we then assume that we also know about two, because it's made up of one and one. And that might be even the case, that we know about the two ones. And maybe then even understand what two means for us. Yet a flow is not only consisting of that, it is also how we get from here to there, and with that, the end between one and one, making two. So perhaps for you today is to contemplate, perhaps even throughout your practice here on the mat, how you understand one thing that leads to another, but how you get there, and paying attention to what that means around the flow of the movement or the flow created for yourself as a human being. To achieve perhaps a little bit more harmony to begin with, let's deepen our breathing. Beginning the breath on the exhale slowly, and then breathing in slowly. Allowing yourself to breathe more slowly, but also perhaps directing the breath down into the diaphragm so the belly starts to move in and out at the same time. And as you breathe more deeply out and in, you might like to align the lengths of these components of the breath, finding the same length of inhalation in relation to your exhalation. If you like to count that, please do. If you notice for yourself it is better just to feel into the length, you may do so too. A suggested count, if that is yours, is the exhalation to 4 and the inhalation to 4. As you breathe in and out, perhaps counting the length of your breathing, and perhaps also observing how this feels for you as a whole. If you find this rhythm of breath very suitable for yourself, you might stay with it. You could expand this technique into holding the breath in between, moving from Samavriti 1 to Samavriti 2, or the box breath, where after your inhalation, you're creating a pause that might even have the same length of a count of 4. Then you're breathing out to the count of 4, and then you're pausing the breath again, and perhaps also for a count of 4. So that you could visualize a box in front of your eyes and breathe along the even sides of a box. However, if the hold of the breath feels strenuous or not right at all, you can skip it, come back to the first version, or you may even shorten the holds of breath. Instead of 4, perhaps it's 3 or 2, but you're shortening it on both sides so that you're kind of getting a rectangular box to breathe along. So you breathe in, you pause, you breathe out, you pause. Allow yourself to explore your variation for a few rounds. Completing your breathing practice or pranayama for now. After your next out breath, let go of the technique. Aim to feel back into your body. Tap into the energies you have played with and any potential effects on your mind. You might then release the hand gesture or mudra. Even use your hands to guide the knees back up. Heel and toe your feet out so they're landing on the edges of the mat. And letting your knees roll inwards for constructive rest, but here also inward hip rotation. Perhaps there's a sense of ease arising from that movement. While you might choose to breathe in, leave your head heavy, but roll it over to one side. And out, breath to roll the head back into the center. Breathing in to roll the head over to the other side. And exhaling to bring it back into center. Continue the rolling of the head from side to side for 2 more to each side, using the gentle and slow breath as your focus point and pace of movement. When you complete it, center the head again. Make sure shoulder blades are snugged under, shoulders feel easy. Get your feet a little bit closer together again. And allow your knees to roll just for a little while, and perhaps in a smaller range of movement from side to side. If you've done that a couple of times, you might increase the range of movement and perhaps even bring the movement of the neck and head back in. Let us start by rolling over onto the left-hand side and maybe using the lower arm as a cushion underneath the head. Both legs might lengthen out long with a little bend in the lower leg to find stability. Then draw your right knee in towards the chest and give it a good squeeze. Perhaps an outburst to tuck the nose towards the knee. And if you're feeling reasonably comfortable here, slide your hand to your ankle or to the top of the foot. Start to realign your spine into length and bring the top knee on top of the bottom knee. Perhaps squeezing your foot towards your buttocks and moving your hips forward into the space in front of you. Maybe there's a light stretch arising. And you could from there start to extend your foot into the hand. So the knee stays low, but it might move behind the extended leg, almost like in dancer pose. Then gently release the knee, release the foot. An option to stretch your arm over the head and take a deep, full breath in before bending the knees and rolling down onto your back. We will shuffle around to the other side while I'll be rude and turn my back to you, rolling over onto your right-hand side. And again, your lower arm can be a cushion. You might begin by straightening your legs out, perhaps that little bend into the lower leg. Then bringing your left knee up towards the chest and giving it a good squeeze into the chest. An option on the next outburst to draw your nose towards the knee. This feels right. Slide your upper hand to your ankle or to the top of the foot. Bring the knees together. Start to lengthen your spine again over the floor. And while you draw your foot towards your buttocks, moving your hips in front of you for the first stretch. And perhaps from there, bringing the foot into the hand so the knee starts to move behind the extended leg, but stays quite low. To release, let your knee lower, let go of your foot. And if it feels right, extending your upper arm over the head into a full body stretch as you breathe in. And bending the knees as you roll again onto your back. Adjusting yourself here so the feet now landing at about hip distance apart, comfortable distance to the buttocks, and arms lengthening out on either side of the body. For the inhale now, tilt your pelvis and lift your hips up just a little bit. Then let go of the glute muscles. Let go of all strength around your pelvis. Leave the pelvis just hanging there in the air and give it a little swing from side to side in weird directions, maybe a little figure eight, trying to use as little muscle strength as is possible for you in this position. And then if your environment allows you, tap the lower back a few times against the floor, and you can even here tilt the pelvis lightly from side to side. Trying to release some tension from the lower back before you rest the body back down. Now we've used that alignment for a bridge. On the inhale, tilt the pelvis again, but this time squeeze your buttocks up, rolling up your hips. On the out breath, start to roll back down, controlling the movement with stability, vertebra at a time. Let's repeat that. On the inhale, tilt your pelvis and start to lift the hips up for a bridge. On the out breath, rolling the bridge back down. Let that movement continue here for a few more breaths. And if you enjoy the movement, as you breathe in, could you lift your arms either to the ceiling or even all the way down onto the floor behind your head. When you breathe out, the weight of the arms comes with you as you control the stability before arms and back release to the floor. So your choice is to keep moving just the lower body or adding the arms to the movement. I'm suggesting another 3 breaths. And for the last round, when you get there, perhaps holding in your version, with the hips up, drawing the tailbone a bit further up towards the backs of the knees, perhaps using your feet more into the floor. You might allow it to raise your fingertips to the ceiling while you breathe in, hold your bridge, and breathing out to lower the arms back down by the side. On the inhale, perhaps lift a little more, and then roll down with as much control as is available to you, as little movement in the rest of the body as possible. Once you have landed, start to raise the feet up and bring your knees just loosely over the chest and have a little rock across the pelvic area. If this feels good, you might then embrace your knees and give them a good hug and squeeze in. Option, nose to knees on the out breath. Releasing your upper body back down. Landing the feet back onto the floor and rolling over onto your favorite side. Only to help your body to come up. Changing into a kneeling position. So coming onto the hands and knees. As you might explore the positioning of your hands and perhaps they could spread out onto the mat. Consider any sensations in the wrists, and if you need a bit more support, stepping up onto fists with the thumbs looking forward. If you're using the flat hands, shift the weight forward into the hands and slightly away from the wrists, and use the pads of your fingers to create Hatha Bandha or the hand lock. The tops of the feet, the shins are down. We're starting to press the floor away. The floor away with the legs as well as with the arms, and finding strength and stability within the body. On the next exhale, then rounding into a cat. On the inhale, find either neutral spine or even lift your tail and gaze. Out breath, cat. Let that flow for a few rounds. This is Vidalasana, cat and cow pose. As you move from either neutral spine or back bend into deeply rounded cat position. as we find the neutral spine on the next inhalation. Keep pressing the floor away with hands and legs. And extending your right leg back on a breath in. On the breath out, draw the knee in towards your nose, again rounding the spine. For the inhale, extend back and length to the spine. The exhale, draw the knee to the opposite elbow. The inhale to extend again. Out breath, same side elbow. Only one more round. On the inhale to find length in leg and spine. Out breath, nose to knee. Inhale, lengthen again. Exhale to the opposite elbow. Inhale, lengthen again. Out breath, knee towards the same side elbow, hold. And carefully extend the leg out towards the side. You might align your foot, toes pointing forward with the knee on the floor. Walking your hands then up towards your knee. Making sure the knee and the hip are aligned. And take an out breath to roll up to stand on this knee and extended leg. For the inhale, open the arms out to either side. Perhaps the palms are turned upwards. Breathing in. And on the exhale, beginning to tilt towards the extended leg. You might even reach the other arm up to the ceiling and perhaps follow it with the gaze. The first sense of length coming to the left side, perhaps. And with the next out breath, there's the option of lowering your upper arm over the head, the palm facing towards the floor. This all can be done with hands in the side of the body if the shoulder needs a break. Take a note of how much weight have you placed against your extended leg, and can you let go of that and use your torso instead. Let's soften the knee on the extended side, roll the arm and shoulder down, and take the left hand and place it either flat or on the fist down onto the floor underneath the shoulder. The other hand might come into the side of the waist as you stack your shoulders. Your gaze can be down or upwards there. An option for those wanting extra weight bearing to extend the lower leg and rest the foot behind the other, so on the edges of the feet, inner and outer. And if you feel you've still got something in you, you might lift the upper leg. Let's land the upper leg, land the lower knee to the floor, and roll arm and shoulder in. So to walk the hands back into your all-four stance, and then placing your right knee down and finding the space again between the knees that is hip distance. Pressing the floor away. On the inhale, the left leg is extending back. Out breath, nose to knee. Inhale, lengthen leg and spine. Knee to opposite elbow, exhale. Inhale, length. Out breath, knee to the same side elbow. One more round, breathing in for length. Knee to nose. Inhale. Exhale, knee to opposite elbow. Inhale, lengthen again, and knee to the same side elbow for a pause. You might extend the leg out to the side, turn the toes forward. Align it roughly at the height of the knee on the floor, and then walk the hands up towards your knee, starting to roll up through the spine, and on a deep breath in, opening the arms out to shoulder height. I've got my palms already facing up, preparing for the shape. So the hip is sitting right over your knee for stability, so that the other leg is comfortably extended. The inhale here. And with the exhale, leaning over towards the extended leg. If you find that arm needs a rest, bring it into the side of the waist. Otherwise, stretch it up towards the ceiling and perhaps even follow it with the gaze for a moment, creating the length first, and then perhaps letting that arm come over the head or leaning a little bit more sideways over the extended leg. However, if you choose to have the back of the hand resting here, feeling that more as a gentle touch than a support, using the strength in your waist and core to aim for this side bend. Parigasana, our gate pose. Let's bend the knee of the extended side, roll the arm and shoulder in, and the same options here. You might land on a fist on the right hand or flat. Let the other hand slide into the side of your waist and begin to roll the top shoulder back. So the shoulders aim to be stacked. The same options here as the lower knee on the floor is not really required. Extend the leg and let the foot rest behind the other. So you come to inner and outer edges of the feet. The hips are high. Option from there, if there's excess energy, to raise the upper leg. And landing the upper leg back down, the knee back to the mat. And again, just rolling in. So you're landing back on your hands and your knees, and perhaps adjusting again the stance between the knees, tucking the toes under, and as you take your next inhale, start to extend into puppy form. So the hips are coming up and back, the arms are extended forward. There's now length coming through the spine with a little core support. Option from there is to stay or to raise the knees off the mat and find a down dog. Now the choices are yours, and it's also up to you to perhaps create a bit of movement from that dog position, whether it's the puppy or the downward dog. Then taking a walk with the feet or the knees to the front side end of the mat, lowering into standing forward bend. Keeping knees soft now, and an out breath to start uncurling the spine. A breath in to raise the shoulders up, and an out breath to shrug them down. As we come to stand there at the front side end of the mat, stepping slightly back with the left leg. Aligning the heels with each other, but keeping the back heel slightly further out than the toes. Allowing the arms to open out on the breath in. Placing pressure down into the ball of the front foot so you can feel the thigh switching on, your knee protected. Then starting to lean towards that leg. Keep the pressure into the ball of the foot, upper arm extended or in the side of the waist, as you might reach towards the ceiling. This could be together with your gaze, or your gaze might be down. I usually use the inner thigh and the back of my hand resting against it as resistance point. As they push against each other, there's a similar length coming through the lower side of the waist than it is felt in the upper. Taking a breath in to bend into the front knee, and then reversing your arms as you straighten the front leg again, exalting a triangle. So while you stand on both of your feet, use both of them as if you wanted to push off the mat. So you're starting to lift out of the backside hip. Your gaze could be upwards or down by your side as you reach into the exalted triangular shape. Now breath in to bend the knee again. Bring the arms along, place them towards the sides of the body, arms extended, fingers are long, and beginning to shift the weight forward. And after warrior 3, so the big toe can be there on the support on the floor, or you might lift the leg and find a full warrior 3. If you choose the full version, the back foot is flex. The toes are pointing down, your spine might be long. Slowly stepping both feet back down onto the mat and finding a tall standing position. We'll take a breath in to extend our whole body, opening even the gaze if that's right for the neck. On the out breath, bring the hands down to the midline and release them back down by your side. Now stepping the right foot back. Finding a similar alignment, so the heels are in one line, but the back heel is further out. The back foot slightly angling inward. As you take a look forward to the front leg, begin to press down into the ball of the foot. As the ball of the foot pushes the floor away, it's usually engagement all around your front leg. For the inhale, then your arms might come out to the side. Find this length in the sides of your body. And as you keep pressing into the ball of the foot, tilting towards the foot that you're pushing away with. Arms may stay extended, or you could rest one hand down into your side. The same though on the lower side. This resistance between the back of the hand and your inner thigh, use that, activate it, and feel how your whole torso is then supporting, rather than having that feeling of needing to lean down. The posture can be as deep as you need it to be, as you hold your gaze upwards or downwards. How does that feel in the front leg? Are you still using the ball of the foot? Next, inhale, take a bend into the front leg. Push away as you straighten it again and reverse the triangle as the front arm now reaches upwards. You might look down or you might choose to look upwards, using both of your feet into the ground, lifting out of the hip and reaching towards the ceiling. Then let both knees bend again. Roll the body forward and in. Extend your arms on either side of the body, palms facing forward, while you raise your back heel. Coming to lean towards the front. Perhaps the big toe is your support. Perhaps the whole foot comes off the ground. As you might flex the foot, leaning forward, reaching backwards into the arms, the fingers, or your warrior 3 variation. Then landing your feet next to each other, and a deep breath to reach arms up and open. An out breath to draw the hands down the midline towards the sides of your body. Hands might look forward, and you might shuffle gently across your feet, finding your ultimate stand. Let the inner heels now draw lightly toward each other, lifting up further, growing taller. Close the eyes or lower the gaze. And tap your breath back down towards the diaphragm, letting your belly move. Tapping back into Jala Mudra by touching your thumb to your little finger. allowing you perhaps to refocus on one and one. The flow, how it unfolds within the practice in the mind. And release the mudra and start slowly swinging arms and body lightly forwards and back. Perhaps it's the toes that rise and then it's the heels that gently lift, and all of these are just options. You can keep this as small as you like or go as wild as you wish, just rocking forwards and backwards. Perhaps for you it's a full arm movement, maybe it's a smaller movement instead. And perhaps even lift up right onto the toes and the soles of the feet off the floor as you rock to your heels. Then come to land on the feet, turn the palms back towards the front, bend your knees lightly, start to lean the torso forward, almost like in a half lift, but more so like in a chair pose. Leaving the sitting bones a bit open, but starting to lift up from the pelvic floor and inner center before you might explore to raise your heels off the floor. Have fun if your bird is tipping. And then land your heels and soften all the way down towards your standing forward bend. An option here to open your feet out to either side, bending your knees. For a yogic squat, you could place your forearms upon your thighs, touch the palms of your hands together and lengthen your spine forward. First version of it. Another version would be to take a block and place that behind you to sit upon. Elbows might in that case come to the inside of the knees, palms of the hands touching, lengthen the spine. Others might not even use the block and come into full malasana. It's not that important whether your heels are touching the floor or they're lifted, but you might create a bit of tension between your knees and arms to help you lengthen through the spine. Perhaps closing your eyes or lowering your gaze as you reflect on the flow of your breath. Then gently releasing into a roundedness where you might stretch your arms forward. And if you feel playful, sit down without your hands. If you feel more like support, bring your hands behind and then extend your legs out in front. If you have a blanket nearby, I suggest to fold that up so it's nice and high, and then pop yourself up on the blanket. We'll begin with a bend into the right knee, and you might like to hug that in towards you, perhaps extending through the left leg and flexing the foot. You can then choose to open the knee out to the side. Whether your foot is actually on your upper inner thigh or lower is not so important, and you might even use a block or cushion as a support underneath the knee. I suggest to bring the fingertips down and lift the side of the buttocks of the straight leg and pull it in. Then bend the knee and flex the foot, pushing the floor away on your inhale to quite lengthen the spine, and either leaning straight forward or sway, walking the body forward. Once the belly has touched the sides, find a nice resting point for the hands on the floor, on the legs, or if comfortable, even on the foot. You might then start to lower the rest of the upper body. And only if your back is feeling good, the body is allowing to, could you slide the heel out further. There's no need to aim for a straight leg. As long as the foot is in a flexion, it might serve your body well. As we pause in this shape, many waves of the spine will come to aim for deepening the pose, or just resting here and lengthening your out breath. Use a few breaths more. Then walking your hands back up towards the body or sliding them there. Remove any support you might have underneath the knee and take the opposite hand, that is your right one, behind your back firmly. Point out through the foot on the long leg and a breath in to swing your arm over the head. You could choose to stay here or lift your hips off the floor. As you might land your hips again, swing your arms down, land back onto your support. Take the right knee up. You might place the foot to the inside of the leg and leave a gap there, or you might place the foot to the outside of the leg. Let's leave the other leg long and the foot flexed, and hug yourself up tall on the knee in front of you before placing right hand fingertips behind and either leaving opposite hand around the knee or using your elbow. Then an out breath might guide the rest of your body into the twist. You could hold Jala Mudra, thumb to little finger on the one hand, and leave the long leg active and grounding. Breath might move back down towards the abdomen. On the next inhale, turn the head to the front, release the twist, and bring your left knee up to the chest for a little squeeze in. Similar options here. You can prepare a support as you might open your knee out. Where the foot is resting against the inside of the leg is yours. Starting to bend the extended leg and lifting it a little bit, the vertic side, and drawing it inwards. So we're starting to face the leg. Flex the foot, press the fingertips into the floor and find length in your spine, inhaling. On the exhale, sway or leaning forward. Finding your way into Jala Asana or head to knee pose. I like to pause when my belly touches the side. Feel more length coming through, then maybe lowering the rest of the upper body down. Hands again can rest on the floor, on your leg, or for some even holding onto the foot. Please check in with yourself first before you might decide to slide your heel out further, perhaps straightening the leg more. Rather helping your back in this pose by allowing the knee to be bent and a deep flexion into the foot to assist with the stretch. Then starting to pull. Allow your breath to guide you. And the same option here, you might have mini spinal waves on the inhale and softening further down on the exhale. Or you could choose to lengthen your out breath to surrender more deeply into this form. Few more breaths. Then as you breathe in, starting to lift a little, walking the hands or sliding them back as you rise. Please remove the blocks. Oops. More elegantly perhaps than I just did. And let your left hand land firmly down behind you or your feet. Point out through the foot on the long leg and a breath in where your arm might swing up if your shoulder allows you to. Otherwise, you could push your hips off the floor, perhaps even rest the arm down if needed. Let's land gently and purposefully back on the sitting support, helping the knee up, landing the foot down. As the other leg remains extended, either keep a gap here between foot and leg or step the foot across to the other side. And raise your knee and flex the foot on the long end, and a deep breath just to raise up through your spine. Then the left hand fingertips behind, opposite hand on the knee or your elbow wrapped around it before you exhale to complete your twist. Jala Mudra is back on offer, thumb to the little finger. Perhaps your breath is directed against your thigh. Is everything aligned as it needs to be for you right now? Have you used the transition to observe your flow? An inhale to bring the head forward, an out breath to release the legs out. I will come and wiggle off my blanket and bring it back to rest there for Shavasana. I will also get my block back and place that by the side of the mat. Before we come to rest, we'll practice a couple of postures lying down. So as you extend your legs, perhaps your arms are reaching up. Have everything gathered around you, by the way, you need for Shavasana or resting. And then an out breath as you engage right from your pelvic floor into your power center and rolling down slowly. Support yourself if you need to. Descend gradually and slowly if it's possible. Once you've landed, rest your arms down. Make sure your shoulders are free from any cushioning. And if your cushioning is any higher than a flat blanket, please remove it for now. Make sure the block is within your reach and bend the knees to set the feet onto the ground. Adjust the back again so you feel comfortable. Palms of your hands are down by your side. On the breath in now, tilt your pelvis and then squeeze the hips up toward your bridge pose. You might gently walk the shoulders under, and some of you might like to interlace the hands and lengthen the arms down onto the floor, drawing your tailbone up towards the backs of the knees and feeling the strength in the feet. Setabandha Savangasana, the bridge. You can choose to hold it as it is and use your inner strength. If you would like to support the bridge, you could slide the block underneath your sacrum. The block can be flat, or you might choose to place it halfway up, even all the way up if you insist. But please make sure it's sitting under the sacrum. That's the very last bit of the spine where there's no moving vertebrae. So you can rest there, and the whole rest of your spine is hanging free and off the block, if that is your choice. The arms might stay restful by the sides as we pause in a supported or hold a normal bridge. And for those of you having chosen the support, you might extend your right leg out and see how that feels. Any pinches, step the foot straight back down onto the floor. Fine for you, take a few breaths with the right leg extended, the heel of the right foot on the floor. If your leg was extended, step the right foot back down. And perhaps repeat that experiment on the other side by sliding your left leg out long onto the floor. So the left heel is grounded, the leg extended, your breath is flowing. But perhaps now you notice that one and one are not really the same. So if you experience things differently on the two sides, please modify. Letting your left foot step back down onto the ground. If the one leg extended felt good, you might for a short while extend both legs out long. As for me, the lower back is challenged. I will refrain from holding this shape, but please feel free to keep your legs extended for a little bit longer. Any of you who would like to extend the arms, breathe in to lift them and out to lower them down behind the head. Perhaps the deeper abdominal breathing comes back. Your arms were extended. Slowly lift them and let them float back down along the sides of the body. Supported, please bring your knees back to a bend if they were bent. And you might even want to hold onto a block. And if you don't have a block underneath quite yet, you might want to place it there now. Before you could lift your feet off the floor, let the knees come towards the chest. And if this feels good, extending your legs towards the ceiling. If you feel confident in the resting on the block, let your arms release. If you notice, like myself right now, the height of the block isn't suitable, then change that. As you might start to squeeze your toes, maybe one side and then the other, perhaps both at the same time. And maybe even start to move through your feet and ankles. No particular pattern, just a movement. And if this feels good, perhaps a jiggle into the legs, as if you are shaking them out, causing a ripple all the way from the toes down into the pelvis, even into the back and belly area, creating a vibration. And then pause it. And just notice the flow. And if it's right for you, your thumb can touch back to your little finger, creating Jala Mudra. Parita Karani, or the fountain of youth, supported by a block instead of a wall. As once the sensations have gone or rippled on, you might bend your knees again, then placing one foot back down after the other, you could release the mudra. And take a breath to lift your hips back up. As you remove the block back from out from underneath, start rolling your spine down very slowly, enjoying that movement back to solid support of your mat and the floor. As you pause here, become aware of the needs of your being. It might be nothing, And you could transition straight into Shavasana or constructive rest. It might be a little movement that is required, or even a hug of your knees. See what it is for you that needs some movement, and then transition into Shavasana, as you might choose a bolster underneath your knees, extending the legs out long and letting them roll apart. Or if that's challenging in your back, keep the knees bent, have your feet out wide as the mat, and let the knees fall in for the constructive rest. Shuffling the shoulders under so they can be restful on the floor. And if it resonates with you, thumbs to little fingers for Jala Mudra to hold. Your choice now is to close your eyes, to tap back into the idea of that you do know. How we often assume that we then also know about the consequences. And perhaps acknowledging from there that oftentimes we have no idea how we got there. Perhaps the stillness of Shavasana and Jala Mudra, if you choose to hold it, will give you gentle guidance toward that understanding. If your mind goes astray, let it return to the simplicity of restfulness or the flow of each breath. Go a little bit deeper and acknowledge the feelings you might notice. Perhaps your breath, when holding the mudra, feels as if it travels into the pelvis. You could visualize the expressions of water within your pelvis. Lakes, rivers, seas, and streams, all infusing you with the quality of fluidity. This area being bathed in fluidity. The stream of liquid energy flows outward to nourish your entire being from there. Allowing with each breath this fluid essence within your pelvis to move into the body where it is required. Perhaps even encompassing the whole body if it's needed. Trusting into the ability of your own body and its lymphatic system to help you create this fluidity and flow. The fluidity with each breath rippling out, even touching on your emotional being. Instilling more fluidity into your life. With fluidity, you naturally embrace transitions more easily, flowing with the stream of life at each moment of your journey. You might choose to silently repeat to yourself, with greater fluidity at all levels of being, I move through life smoothly and easily. With greater fluidity at all levels of being, I move through life smoothly and easily. With greater fluidity at all levels of being, I move through life smoothly and easily. Or you might choose to release your hand gesture or Jala Mudra. Stay focused on the breath and the absorption of the water's healing essence. Our card today comes from the healing deck. It says, let go of time. How much do you need to do today? Must you feel every moment to feel useful or productive? And how much of your life is directed by time? You might like to answer these questions to yourself honestly. As you could choose to take these answers with you and perhaps expand on them throughout the day. Allow the fluid form of your breath to return, where the breath is more deep, but flows smoothly and effortlessly. This might prompt you to move a little or stretch. Before you could slowly transition to join me in a seated pose. You might even join the hands together, the center of our chest. Eye gaze low, your eyes closed. There's one hand and there's another. And in between, although they're touching, there's space. As we acknowledge the space, the transitions between, we connect with a light bow toward each other. Namaste.